waiting already? So we are live. So, um, first off, I'm just gonna say hello. My name's Jason Smith. I'm part of the Wet, Wild, and Warpy gaming group, and we're here with Paul McArthur, who just recently won the war in the Burg with Knights, which comes as it feels like it should be a surprise, right? Winning with I feel like Knights had been kicked out, right? When Space Marines came in, and then I don't know if maybe the Drukhari release or just uh, how elite all the armies have been for months now. Yeah. Um, so I'm not sure if that's what it was or what, but congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Um, so we have a couple minutes before we're really gonna get rolling on this. So if you want, we can talk about the Drukhari Codex, because that's always fun to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as fluent as I should be in there. I need to
Okay.
get a couple practice games against them because I have ideas of how I would handle, but overall, I'm like, man, they have a lot of tools.
They do have a lot of
I have T8
tools.
models, but
The
they have a lot of tools,
TA
and
models
I
helps
feel
though. It's
yeah, T8 helps a lot.
especially when they're really tooled to kill Space Marines and tooled to kill elite armies. So
Yeah, I
it's
would argue that's how Knights are too right now. It's
yeah.
really good against the elite armies.
Yeah, the only benefit that those knights get over is that those stompy feet can still kill some hordes. Uh,
Yeah.
just the
Oh
additional
yeah.
attacks.
Yep.
So, oh, thank you, Andrew. Andrew said we're both very handsome.
Oh,
All right, so it's pretty much 8:30. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Um, the first question I want to ask you is, a, what armies do you play in total, and how long you been playing?
so I've been playing for about possibly 2.5 years now. And at my last job, there's a few people. So back up even further. Back in middle school, early high school, I played in third edition, and I played Black Templars for a while. And by a while, I mean like maybe a year, maybe a year and a half. But after that, I kind of fell off the 40K train, and many years later, 2.5 years ago, that was back in like 2003, or I can't remember when it may actually earlier than that, 2000. It's crazy to think back that far. But 2.5 years ago, a couple of my work friends talked about playing. I was like, oh, I used to love that game. That was a lot of fun. And they talked about it so much that I jumped back in. And the first army I jumped back into was Imperial Guard. And I was like, I'm going to play Guard. I want to play tanks, infantry. Let's do it. Um, and since then, I've put together a good guard. It helped me learn kind of all the facets of how to play between infantry, vehicles, Olgrin for the melee, psychic, Astropaths for psychic phase. And then I started piecing together a Thousand Sun Zinj army. I didn't really get too much play out of it because that was right before I moved here from where I used to live in Omaha. And then here, right at the time that COVID started getting really big and quarantine happened, I for some reason I jumped on Knights. I was like, I'm tired of tons of models, Imperial Guard, all like moving all the models and stuff. It took so much time. Ninth edition was dropping, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to play this with 5 or 7 models. I don't know how many models I'm gonna have, but it's gonna be very few, and I'm just gonna start from there, and I'm gonna go. And since then, I've played a lot with them. I've learned a lot. And the new gaming group that I joined, Coastal Wargaming, I've played tons of matches against them and learned a ton. Been doing pretty well, and I mean, it's kind of crazy because it culminated obviously all of this GT win
Mm-hmm.
so far. So I feel like I've been getting better and better and better.
So is this your
And
first GT win?
yeah, this is my first GT win.
Well,
Yep.
extra congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
So my
I've
first
I've won
GT.
a few RTTs with Knights with pure Knights within the last year. It's been like
Mhm.
kind of small within the gaming group things, but yeah, this is the first big win that I've gotten.
So my first GT win actually came down at a Coastal Gaming event.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, against David Penfold.
Okay. What he
Yeah,
was your last round
yeah,
match?
he was my last round match.
Oh,
So
I hope he's watching this. You're gonna bring back some
he should
PTSD
be.
with him.
He should be. He was watching the stream. He was actually one of the ones commenting on the stream throughout the game. Um, And we'll leave that at
Yeah,
that.
he's active on our, like, we have a little Coastal Wargaming chat, and he's pretty
Yeah,
active in it. So
yeah,
yeah, he's a good dude
he's good people. Um,
for sure.
so I guess you've kind of already covered why you wanted to bring knights to the event, right? Just because
Oh
the
yeah,
so
that, and it drives some of my other the guys in my group kind of crazy when I bring my big dumb knights. And I'm just like, yeah, I want to play them. You know what you got to go against.
so coming into the event, where did you expect to fall? Let's say out of 38, because that's how
Um,
many players were there.
so
Or what record did you expect?
I was aiming for a 3-2. I was saying, if with the new Drakari Codex and
Right,
everyone talking about it, I was like, if I go 2-3, it's like maybe that's expected. I was hoping to go 3-2 because at the previous event, Tables and Towers, that major that happened, I went 4-1. So I was like, oh man, I was like, it takes some luck and some good pairings to go that far.
yeah,
So I was telling the guys, I was like, hey, how much luck can my Imperial Knights endure? How much luck do we get?
yeah.
So I
Most,
told him I was definitely, joking, going one
yeah.
and four this weekend,
So
going into it.
as I was watching your last game, which is up on the Wet Wild and Warp channel, and it'll be broken down a little bit so it's easier to watch. But the dice were not favoring you throughout
No,
the course of that game.
strength 16 weapons. I'll roll some ones, whatever.
Yep, I mean they were slaughtering you in that regard.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I guess the next step is for you to kind of just take us through your list, and really what shined throughout your games and what
yep,
was kind of like, do you know what? I could have done without this. I know you only have like 7 models, but
yeah. I'll go through it. And I'll preface this. So I've toyed with uh a few nice lists, and the last event and this event was the first event that I took for armigers. Usually I would take 4 big knights and 1 baby knight, um, which sounds great. It's a lot of T8,
right,
but you need more models to cover more of the battlefield, right?
right,
So I decided to go a little different. And then the Majeres right now are so good that you can't not take them. However, so I know I've seen, I can't remember which other podcast or channel I've looked at. They've talked about a triple Majera and then 4 Armiger Warglaves, which would probably be a good list too. But
right,
I just need some of that backfield ranged fire
right.
that can actually be effective and useful when they're way back there. Because it's nice if you have something that can shoot, but if you're putting Warglaves on
Yeah.
back objectives, they just don't. I
They're
feel like they're not
they're just
getting
there to
getting very
stand there and
useful.
look pretty.
Yeah, granted, if something deep strikes and charges them, they can at least fight back and do
Right.
some decent work back. So there's a little give and take.
Yeah.
However, I wanted the shooty guys to hold back line objectives, and then warglaves to kind of, they can advance and shoot. So let's do it. That's up to a 20-inch move, right? So
Yep.
you can move fast. The 2 Majeras, I know everyone would expect a Knights player. You're going to take as many Majeras as you can, right? And the Warden, I think I've gotten multiple questions afterwards. After the win, people sort of message me like, why the Warden? You have to put Sanctuary on it to have
Right.
a close combat invul,
Yeah.
and you could save that relic if you took something else. So there's a few things. One, it frees up points for the Helverns, so I can
Right.
have the shooty knights. A good replacement for the Helverns would be 2 lightning lock Moraxes, but they don't have the 14-inch move anymore. The
Right.
small Forge World
Yep.
knights. So and another thing is, surprisingly, the Thunderstrike Gauntlet. So you could take the Chainsword, save 5 points, put it somewhere else. But the Gauntlet, I have used Death Grip on many tough characters,
I was
to
about to
snipe
say
them in close combat. It's crazy.
that death grip ability
Yeah,
has been the doom of several of my models throughout tournaments because I'm running up with just little Eldar guys, and so I'm
yeah,
strength 3, and he's like, yeah, no matter what you roll, unless it's a 6, you just die.
yeah. Your strength 3 characters,
Right.
and there's characters. Okay, you have a 3-up invul, and you come
Yep.
into close combat because you want to tie up my knight. Got it. Or if you
Yep.
want to get on that objective. But if I death grip you, as long as I hit, and granted, House Crast, I think many people probably understand how they work.
Yeah.
You still get to reroll the hit in for the death grip because it's another
Mhm.
attack.
Yep.
So you have a good chance of grabbing someone doing mortal wounds and
Yeah.
continuously doing mortal wounds to kill a character. So even, it's good for custodes. It's good for anyone that I can get into close combat and then afterwards get that extra attack and to snipe a character.
So,
Um,
tell me a little bit more about the Knight Majera because I actually don't play Knights, and I
okay,
don't
yeah,
I don't really know anything about the Knight Majera.
sure. Yeah, I'll run down. So I'll give everyone. It's the Night Magera is it's if Knights the Codex comes out and Knights all get brought up to the Night Magera level, it is going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people because the Night Magera is it's so much better than your average typical knight. So if you see those, they're pretty brutal. So the Night Magera has a similar stat line: 24 wounds, Strength 8, Tough 8, all that fun stuff. The big things that make it stand out is that it has a flat 5 up invulnerable. So in close combat too. So against
Yeah.
shooting and close combat, which can be rotated to a 4 up. If you're going to have someone being shot at.
Right.
In fact, a lot of people take Iron Bulwark to have a flat 4 up save, and I don't even do that. I go for as many CP as possible at the
Yep.
beginning of the game. I have 10 to start with. I used to give as many relics and warlord traits as possible and start out with 6. But I just found starting with 10 and using rotate whenever I need it
Yep.
is a little bit more efficient.
Right.
So anyway, the Night Magera, the big things. So the lightning cannon, it flat 8 shots, strength 7, neg 2, flat 3 damage. With the 8 shots, any 6s are 2 additional hits. So if I'm shooting you from far away and I get any 6s whatsoever, it's great for me.
Yeah.
If I shoot Overwatch, any 6s I get, that's 3
Yeah.
hits.
No. So,
All potentially doing 3 damage
yeah.
apiece.
As I was watching your game, I was like, he missed 4 of his shots. Wait, he hit 2 6s, so he made
Yeah,
up everything. So
yeah.
like, it just
On an
seemed to pay
Overwatch
off.
roll one time, I've rolled 3 6 or 5 6s, sorry, and I was like, I have 15 hits against you, and it was against like, um, was it the Space Wolves, the Wolf
Okay.
Guard, or the ones that are riding the wolves? I
Yeah.
forget, and it killed them before they got to me. It was out of control. Um,
Um.
Another huge highlight for them is the Siege Claw. So the Siege Claw is way better than a melee weapon than anything. So it comes with a few things. One, it does eight damage flat to vehicles and monsters. It has how stomp, when you stomp, you get 3
Yep.
attacks per 1 attack profile. For the claw, it's a flat 3 damage versus D3.
Yeah.
So same thing. It's strength 8, neg 2, flat 3 damage, but 12 attacks or
Right.
15. And one of my guys that I gave the extra attack profile just
Yep.
to get those extra attacks in.
Yeah.
And
That. I
then in
mean,
addition to that, oh, go ahead.
just the benefit of flat 3 instead of D3
Oh,
is
yeah,
so drastically better. It's just
yeah,
like I run grotesques, and every time someone brings D3 into me, I'm like, fantastic. They're gonna
yeah.
eat at
Bring it.
least 3 of these attacks per guy.
Yep.
Like they just are. Um, but continue.
Yeah. So, and the last thing is the twin rad cleanser. So it's funny because I've been waiting to use it against greater demons. I was like, oh, this is when the Lord of Changes and all the Slanesh greater demons were coming out to play, and I was like, oh, I cannot wait to be charged by one of these.
Yep.
The Keeper of Secrets mostly. I was like, I can't wait for one to charge me, and then for me to use this against them
Right.
because it's a flamer weapon. It's 2d6 shots, strength 2, no AP, but flat 3 damage.
Yep.
And it wounds everything except for vehicles and Titanic units on a 2+.
So it's
So,
it's upgraded poison shots essentially, right?
oh, it's crazy. And if you fail, so it's on your armor save. So against
Right.
custodes or something with 2 up save, it's like, okay, any ones. It's 3
Right.
damage, so don't roll
But
ones.
something with a 4
Um,
up or
yeah,
even a
or
5
5 up
up, and
greater demons.
yep,
It's all right,
it's
come at me,
it's
and then
just
I
gonna
auto hit
shred it.
with all these, and it could kill you before you get to me.
Yep. Um.
Yeah.
So, going into this last game against Steven, uh, you had to pick secondaries against a Custodes army. And
Yeah.
as I was looking at your army, I was like, all right, so he's probably gonna take grind because he only has 7 models. But outside of that, I was like, what's he taking? So take me through what you were thinking when you were picking secondaries, and then if you could do it again, what would you choose instead, possibly?
So I
So you ended up
there's
taking grind, bring it down, and engage.
yeah, yep. So there's if you want me to, I'll go through. So knights, it's pretty simple. I have five excuse me, five secondaries that I really choose from. I think any knight player really can choose from. One is engage, and that's from the first section, and then in the second section there's either grind them down or there's while we stand we fight. And then the third section there's bring it down or assassinate.
Okay.
So amongst those fives, I kind of pick, okay, do they have, the first one, engage, because I think I have to come towards you a little bit. I want to stay safe and not get
Right.
shot at too much, but I want to move towards you. So I think I'm going to get in table quarters. But the next two, it's can you effectively kill three big knights, for while we stand, or do I think I can kill more units?
Right.
Um, and with custodes, it's kind of tough because I didn't know how much killing power I'll have against a knight. It
Right.
turns out I was, while we stand, probably was a better choice because he went after my small knights first.
Right.
But that could have been a counter to grind them down,
Right.
obviously. So regardless of what I took, I think he would have been able to flex a little bit towards what he was targeting.
Right.
Um, and then for bring it down and assassinate, you know, Trajan is a beast by
Yeah,
himself.
he is.
Do I go for 6 points with the other two? I have to really commit to going for characters, and
Right.
there's a lot of dreadnought support that are going to be just surrounding them.
Right.
So that means I may not get engaged because I can't really go into all the table quarters if I have to focus all of my efforts on
Right.
his castle. So that's why I went with what went with.
Okay.
However, doing it again, I'd probably take while we stand because I thought he had a lot of strength seven,
Right.
things either winning on threes or winning on fives, and I had a lot of invul saves.
Yeah.
And if it went decently my way, I ended it with two knights. That's
Yeah.
10 points.
That's 10.
Yeah, so
So
I think I would have taken that, but it could have changed the entire game up.
yeah, I mean, what you pick as your secondary affects the game so much because it really
Yeah.
dictates your flow of your game.
Hmm.
And then the things that your opponent chooses, if you want to try to deny those points, it also changes how you play. So it's really just it's kind of that war back and forth, which really helps makes games interesting.
Oh yeah.
Um, so uh, I had so we're gonna go through a couple of your turns in a second, but there was one point in
Okay.
the game where I saw that Trajan heroic intervention your knight, and
I do remember.
in my head I was like, after you declared your attacks and none of them were going on Trajan, Tra- I was like, why? In my head I was like,
Oh,
why doesn't he just dump them all into Trajan and just
so
try?
Trajan would be good, but my secondaries, I bring it down was a secondary.
Okay,
So I was like, these dreadnoughts have to go. Trajan
right,
is slow, like compared to my knights.
right,
He's slow. He's not going to come after my
right,
remaining big knight. If he did, I think I'd be able to take him down and probably
right.
death grip him afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to get as many points as
Right.
possible. So with
I
how close the game was, I had to
right,
go for those. Even though they're 1 point apiece,
right,
I had to put my attacks, split my attacks into the two dreadnoughts.
right.
I think I killed them both
Yeah, you
in
did.
that turn. I can't
You did.
remember. Okay.
You did. But I was thinking about the attempted denial of the while we stand we fight.
Yeah.
But I mean it's one way, six one way, half than the other,
Even
right?
yeah, and maybe I should have dumped my attacks into him. And this is all looking back
Yeah, it's
into it.
all
Um, if I recall correct, he has a 3-up invul. I
something like that. I mean
think I think he has a 3-up invul.
he's incredibly difficult to kill.
So and that's what I was looking at. I was like,
Right,
if I can guarantee probably 2 kills, I probably should have dumped my attacks into him. This
right.
is stuff looking back. I'm
Yeah.
playing in the
Uh,
final game,
James
but
says
yeah,
he
maybe
has
I
a
should
three
have.
plus plus. So
He's
yeah,
a three
that,
plus
it's
plus.
that
Yeah.
3-up invulnerable.
So
You had to rely
so
on
if
some
I
failed
get
saves.
yeah, and
Yeah,
if I didn't have a CP, because if I had a CP, then I'd probably spend controlled aggression
yeah,
and get my 12 attacks, exploding sixes,
yeah. I
re-rolling actually. Now that I think of yeah, so re-rolling.
I
So maybe I should have
Well, I think you were
Bentley
out
on
of
me
CP at
probably
that point because you had used one to make him um, on
top
his full
bracket
profile. Yeah, top
probably.
bracket because
Yeah, yeah.
he only had one wound left.
Yeah.
at that point in the game. So
Reliably, I could get a bunch of wounds through, but I'm still wounding
right.
on threes, and then he gets a three of like
Yeah.
invulnerable, and I don't know
And
if he had CP to reroll. It was,
it
I don't know,
it,
it's a
it would have
gamble
been a
either
tough
way.
call. It was just one of those like looking like just
Yeah.
watching the game things.
Retrospect, I
When
probably should have dumped them all on
when
him.
he heroiced in, I was like,
Yeah.
why would you do that with a while we stand we fight guy? Um,
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't thinking
but
about that,
I
so.
do think that Trajan was the guy that actually ended up killing the knight.
Oh, was
Right?
it?
Yeah,
I think he
I
had.
believe
I
so.
think my knight was on two wounds though.
Okay.
I was like, he's dead this turn.
Yeah.
He's dead this turn.
Yeah.
I just got to go in and do it. That brings me to the shocker. Since he died, one big knight died, but he didn't take Titan Slayer, which was the last of the
Yeah.
last 10 games I've played. No one's ever not taken Titan Slayer.
Right.
So when he didn't take that, I was like, oh, shock.
Yeah.
Had I known that, I would have. We don't know each other's secondaries until we
Right.
announce them. I'm like, oh, I would take while we stand then.
Right. I mean, because why not?
You're not going for him
No.
anymore, or apparently. So
Um. So, for those that haven't watched this the stream yet or watched the stream while it was live, it's posted on the Wet Wild and Warby channel. But so this is kind of what deployment looked like at the beginning of that first round, right? So before, were you anticipating hoping for first turn, or are you kind of glad
I
that you got
always,
second turn?
I actually, second turn worked for me. It actually ended up working pretty well for me. There's a couple things that it did screw me with. The two of my two Warglaives got killed when he deep
Yeah,
struck. But I got to score 15 points at the
at
end
the
of the
end of the game.
game, which is obviously what got me the 1 point win,
Yeah,
right? Um, and going first is always I always want to go first. I think in the tournament I only went first twice though out of the 5 games, but it just means I need to endure shots before I get to
yeah,
unleash a whole salvo of all my lightning cannons and
yeah.
stuff.
Um, so I mean, going first is always, well. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the stats are now that they changed that last turn to score at the end. But I know that that change did help
Oh yeah.
going second, right?
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think I could have won. I think it may have been on 3 objectives at the beginning of my last turn, so I think it would have been the same.
yeah, yeah, because that corner objective there at the end that you
Hmm.
ended up killing the Inquisitor, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. And I got
Um,
to move on to the objective to get
yeah,
the token off. Yeah.
yeah. So that was another thing as I was watching the game on that fourth turn, and you had declared shots into the Inquisitor. I was like, but if you kill him,
He. Yeah. Yeah. Looking back, I was like, he rolled all of his feel no pains, and I was like,
hmm
oh man, like you survived. So it all just went the way
it
I
went,
needed it to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
for me, because it could have just as easily been a tie, which would have been
right.
weird, right?
So looking back, would you have deployed the same?
Um, so looking back, I mean, the deployments usually are pretty typical. The armigers go in the back. They have 14-inch moves, so I try to just hide them at the
Hmm.
beginning so they can go wherever they need to go. And then the three, I kind of spread them out because 12-inch movement is still nothing to mess with. They can get wherever they need to go. I probably would have kept them in the same area. Um, I'm sure there's probably a better way to have placed them, but I just can't think of it. I usually give them a good even spacing. The warden I could have probably committed a little bit more to the side that had more threats to it,
Yeah,
just to have a couple you know big knights focusing on what castle he kind of put up there. But he had to come back anyway. Once those warglaives got taken down, I had to
yeah,
respond somehow.
yeah. So one of the things that I know I always try to do as a because I tend to play faster armies, Eldar in general.
Hmm.
Um, so when you took engage, I was assuming that you were gonna put like this Helvern that you put kind of at that 10-inch line. I was like, oh, is he gonna try to like sprint up and catch that engage on all fronts point on turn one for two? But it ended up not
Yeah.
going that way.
Maybe. So I'm trying to look again.
Yeah.
So it's the side where it's not too big of a castle, right?
So
Um,
the well, so it was actually the Warglaive that you kind of put at that 10-inch mark.
yeah,
And
and Oh, excuse me. I probably should have advanced them because that's usually what I do. I no matter
Okay.
almost no matter what, especially if I'm firing through forest, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, advance. -1 to hit. I'm used to it.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, I was thinking I would kill those guard in the back, or in the middle. I think he got on the
Yeah.
middle
On
objective,
it
and
kind
so
of.
I was like 3 points. I want those 3 points because this is going to get me two. And I was like, if I hide these guys a little bit, just keep them out of danger just for this turn, I'll at least get the grind them down for a turn,
Right.
and then I'll move in position into next turn to start getting engaged. Hopefully for three each turn,
Right.
because I'll be in all four.
Which I guess uh, I think you missed out on that last custodes guy
Yeah,
by one guy.
I put a lot of shooting into him, and I was like, dang. I was like, I thought for sure he'd fail a couple more.
Yeah.
Maybe it was three invulns or something, but I was like,
Uh,
man, it happens. It's dice.
yep. It is. So let's scroll on down to the end of battle round one, shall we?
Sure.
So this is the end of battle round one, as your warden kind of took the center of the table,
Hmm.
which I actually really like that move, just because he could essentially respond to anywhere next turn on the
Yeah,
table.
negative two movement, but I mean, if I had to, I didn't know what his next move was going to be, and I guess I probably should have predicted it more. But I was like, at least if I need to, if nothing happens, if he deep strikes someplace where I don't have to respond back,
Right.
then I can keep moving forward towards the Telemon,
Yeah.
because I kind of had the Telemon inside. I knew Telemon was probably one of the biggest threats, especially the one with the close combat weapon.
Yeah.
And then the two dreadnoughts right next to him. So those were kind of my focus at the beginning.
Um, so and then you guys actually didn't have a super bloody turn one or turn two.
Nah,
It
it's kind of boring,
Yeah, it didn't really start
especially with
getting.
the dice rolls.
Yeah, they were. Maybe I'll buy new dice for the stream.
Yeah, I
So
blame your dice.
they are, yeah, they are. Um, so it really didn't start getting bloody until turn three, where just a lot of units just started dropping off the table.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it was Rock'em Sock'em Robots. He
it
had
was.
seven dreadnoughts. I had a bunch of knights, and they were just winding up, and they ran into each other. And
Yeah.
I would say I was looking at a bunch of lists. I was like, man, I don't know how many lists would be equipped well enough to take out seven dreadnoughts, all at -1 damage. They don't have the flat eight damage like my Majeras do, or
Yeah.
flat six like the Thunderstrike Gauntlet does. So I was like, I can see how his list got to the final table as well, because it's a good
It
list.
it's incredibly tough to kill, especially for
Yeah.
armies that just like. So a lot of armies rely on damage two, right? So damage two
Hmm.
is one of the higher
Yeah.
profiles throughout an army, especially. I
Yep.
know my army does. Damage two is like my bread and butter. So when I go up
Yeah.
against a -1 damage entire army, like
All with invuls too,
all
and
with
all with feel
invulns,
no pains. Oh man.
it's painful for me. As
Yeah.
I think if James is still here, he can attest to, because that was
Yeah.
I couldn't kill him.
I can't.
I
I
couldn't
I
do it.
don't know. Do you know if Steven played against Dark Eldar?
I don't
I
actually.
can't remember. I don't know if he did. I was just curious. I didn't know how his arm. I assume it would do well. I just didn't know if he was,
Yeah,
because I happened to dodge Drukari for 5 rounds,
all
which was out of
together.
control for seven people playing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Um, and some good players had picked him up too. I think
Yeah, I noticed. I
yeah,
was happy to have dodged them all.
I think Jeremy Knox had picked him up, and he won. I think
Yeah.
he ended up winning the most recent
I've
Nova.
I've played him at both the last big events at the
Yeah,
GT, actually the same at your hobby place, and then at Tables and Towers. And both times he cleaned my clock. Both times I had knights too. So I've
yeah,
learned a lot from Jeremy,
yeah.
and he kind of helped.
He's a
Yeah,
great guy. He plays really well. It's a pleasure to play against him every time we do.
for
Um,
sure, for sure.
so turn four, we ended up with this Majera down in the corner fighting this Dreadnought. And then uh, the Telemon over here with Trajan and the Inquisitor next to your Majera, and that's pretty much all he had left on the table at that point, right?
Yeah, I think. I think there was my Majera on the bottom left was on one of the knights that had the 4-up save, the
Yep.
sword and board or dreadnought, sorry. Um, yeah, I think he had 5 models at that time, and I had my 3.
Yeah. Um,
One Helvern, the Warden, and the Majera,
yeah.
and mostly the shooting.
Yeah.
I can't remember what turn did you say this was again?
I believe this
Turn
is
3?
no the end of battle round 3. So I think
End of battle round 3.
yeah. So I think this was the turn where you rolled 2 1s to wound that
Hmm.
that
My strength 16 weapons, never
because
gonna wound.
your attacks have been cut in half because I guess
Yeah,
the Inquisitor relic.
yeah. So the
Um,
Inquisitor relic, but luckily my guy had 5 attacks.
right. So you
So because I took the Warlord trait for that,
right
so it went down to 3,
3.
and I still got my 9, and I just started doing the as many attacks as possible on
Yeah.
that dreadnought just to get as many as I could through.
Um, and then on the last turn, well, I say the last turn. For those that haven't watched the stream yet, turn 5 um, kind of happened,
Yeah,
and we'll go
turn
over that
5
in a
got all
second.
on the table. We were just like, we're gonna talk through it, and then the TO was like, no, you guys are on stream, you played out. And we're like,
Right.
okay, and then we played out, and it was like 2 minutes long or
Yeah.
something because
I
we kind
I
of knew where it was going.
I think on turn 5 nobody moved.
Yeah,
As
I should have rolled for the advance because I don't know what 18 inches would look like on the Majira in the bottom left corner to get all
right.
the way to the bottom center objective to take banners off.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
yeah. That so I think that would have been especially had you so after you killed that Inquisitor, had you kind of
mhm.
consolidated while still touching the objective, of course, just as far
Yeah,
as you could, and then ended up with
hmm
that movement, you may have made it. But if you
yeah.
didn't, you just advance on to the objective
I just
that's right
well, I
there.
would just stay on that objective. Just
Right.
I was going to get my 15 points then.
Right. Um, but so yeah, so he ends up hiding his 2 last while we stand we fights in
I
this
was
building.
I was kind of surprised at that because I was like, I would have shot everything that the Telemon, even with strength 7, could have
Hmm.
possibly put a bunch of damage on my Warden. My Majera was, I'm pretty sure, was pretty close to full, but my
Yeah, it
Warden, I
was.
think I had like 12 wounds on it. And he has a ton of shots.
Right.
And my strength, like I have a strength 7 weapon on the Majera, and I have a strength 6 weapon on my Warden. If I don't get in close combat with the Telemon, I'm probably
Yeah.
not going to be able to kill it.
No.
So I was surprised he didn't just unload. I think it's
Although
forget
I mean, you still
tons
had
of shots.
so that's the Warden with Iron Strider, right? I think it's called
Landstrider, yeah.
Landstrider. Okay.
But
Um,
I wouldn't have been able to use full. I only had one CP, so I wouldn't have been
right.
able to use full tilt to charge.
Right.
I was using. I actually saved that CP because I was like, if he shoots that dude at me, which I thought he was going to, I was like, I've
Right.
got to use rotate and see how
Yeah.
many 4-up saves I can make.
So yeah, and then turn 5 was basically just okay, everybody stand still,
Yep,
and then we'll collect those
yep.
15
He ended
points.
up not getting. Yeah, he ended up not getting any primaries. I think the last turn,
No, he
or maybe he
didn't.
did. I
Um,
can't remember if he did or not. And then I ended up getting 15, which was the huge swing at the
right.
end.
Which is kind of split as far as his move. I'm kind of split on whether or not, because his Telmon could have definitely made it to that bottom center objective on his turn 4,
Yeah.
and then Trajan could have stood on that objective. It does open
hmm
him up to essentially all your shooting left.
Yeah,
Um, but Trajan could have
but
hid behind the obscuring
with
building.
minus 1 damage,
Yeah,
I don't think I would have been able to do it. I mean,
yeah,
granted, hindsight, both of us have plenty of things we'd be like, oh, I should have did this. I should have
right.
taken these secondaries. I should have,
Well,
because
it's
I
always
don't know if he's
2020,
played,
right?
or of course, because I don't know if he's played Knights with his Dreadnought list. 'Cause like I said, I think I play well into this because I have so many. If they all the Dreadnoughts when I get in close combat, all of my big Knights are pretty good beasts in close combat. So once it starts happening, it's just okay. Roll the dice. Let's see who
Mm.
crushes who.
Jeremy Knox says hi, by the way.
Oh, hi Jeremy. Please
Um,
don't match up with me whenever we go to the next big tournament.
so, there's a little bit of delay between our conversation and the stream, but I think at this point I want to open it up. Um, if anybody on the currently watching the stream has any questions for Paul, how his army worked, how the game went, anything like that, feel free to type them in, and then I'll be here to ask them for you. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, Maryland Open is next. But so other than that, how'd your other games go? So you, of course, you had 4 other
So
games.
yeah, so I'll kind of go run through what I matched through. So I first round was Death Guard, which Death Guard is tough too because they have a lot of 3 wound. They usually take a bunch of 3 wound models, and
Mm-hmm.
all of my flat 3 damage attacks. I have to get a bunch through to really get
Yep.
through.
Because that
And then
minus
Plague
one.
Burst Crawlers are tough 8, and a lot of
Yep.
my attacks are strength 7 or 6 for ranged. If I get close to them, great, I'll kill them. But usually they're parked in the back and they're just
Mm-hmm.
getting as many shots as possible. Um, the second round was against a gentleman, Paul Seal was his name, and he plays a custodes list, and it had, I think, less units, the same amount of units or less units than mine.
Yeah.
It
So
was
I actually think I've seen that list. I think it's 9. I think he has 9 units.
9 bikes, and then
Yep.
10 of the Aloris custode, the Terminators.
Yep.
So I was just like, oh, and that one's crazy because I was like, I'm pretty sure all the salvo launchers too. If they had the Bolt Storm missiles or Bolt Storm weapons on the
Yep.
bikes, I don't think I'd be as concerned.
Right.
Um, but they all had salvo, and I was like, oh crap, if he goes first, he's gonna nuke a knight. I
Yep.
don't think there's any way I'm getting away from this.
So is that
And
one of your two first games?
yeah, that was the other one. So I went first on that one, and I went first on my fourth game, which
Okay.
was against Space Wolves. But yeah, I went first against him, and it was actually a triple roll off for that, like the most exciting part of the game, right? Oh, roll off. Oh, we tied. Roll off again. Oh, we tied. And last one I was like, I go first. Okay, I'm gonna throw one of my knights into your bikes, shoot it as much as I can with the other knights, and then just try to kill as many as possible. And
So
by turn 2, I killed them all. So that was essentially the game right there.
yeah, Andrew Simmons does have a question, and it's
Okay.
how many robot noises do you make while you're playing?
Oh, not nearly enough. I should do more.
I'm
I
not
do 0 now, and I should always do more.
I'm not sure you can make enough robot noises as you're playing knights. It's
Yeah,
I
it
know.
would. I think some of the other people who I'm playing against would be really weirded out by it, but I mean, puts them on their back foot, right? They're probably
Yeah.
gonna make some mistakes and stuff
Oh
after
yeah,
that.
just because of beep boops, beep
Yeah,
boops
beep
will
boops,
win you the
beep
game.
us, beep us.
Um, so that was your second game up against Paul Steele. Do you remember your third one?
I do. So that was Iron Hands, and
Okay.
I haven't played Iron Hands against Iron Hands in a while, but so I would still say they are a really good Marine faction right
Yeah.
now. If anyone's still sleeping on Iron Hands, they're decent.
I mean,
Um,
just because they got hit a little bit right from where they
yeah,
were doesn't mean they're not still
they are.
really good,
I would say they're
right?
a really good Space Marine faction.
Yeah.
Just from what I mean. Then again, I'm playing Knights, right? I'm like, oh, well, they were hard for my Knights, so therefore they're great, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I still think they do have some play.
Yeah.
Um, but that one, that one, they obviously went first. In usually after the first turn of shooting, if someone else goes first turn of shooting, I can kind of tell where the game's going to go. It's kind of funny
Yeah.
how you say, like, how much damage you do to a knight. Okay, now I'm going to get in your face because you move towards me. Now I'm going to move towards you, or depending on what army it is, I know I'm moving closer. And as long as I'm killing more than you each turn, I'm probably getting more points.
Right.
It was still a close game at the end, but yeah, I want to say that game was like 90 to 82 or something. It was still
I
close because
I love
so many
close games.
factions can
Yeah.
outscore me each turn, even
Uh,
if I'm doing well.
and one of the things I like about the changes that they've made to ITC and how scoring happens is that you no
Mhm.
longer have to kill, right? So
Yeah.
you can take an army that's not good at killing things at all,
Oh yeah.
as long as you can manage to pull out those points, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I think Dark Angels have it's like if I can survive and stay on a
Yeah.
objective in my back line, then I just score all the points.
So Jeremy Knox has a question that I actually really like. What do you see as the weakness of your list and or playstyle?
So the weakness of the list, and I'm glad I didn't play against any lists that have. So hordes can be an issue, and especially hordes with uh, Invuls,
Yep.
so Harlequins. So in our gaming group, Kurt Kurt Phillips, he plays Harlequins. They were hot, and
Yep.
he
I know
plays
Kurt.
them. Yeah, and I've never beat him. At the end of any of my turn or any of his turns, he could take the
Yep.
single troop. If there's one unit left or one person in the unit left, he can put it on the objective, and I no longer have
Yep.
that objective. He kills me with the primaries.
Well,
I can probably kill more. I can probably get into all the table quarters, but using all the haywire that he can,
yeah.
I still have the CP, one CP for 5 up, feel no pain against
Yep.
mortals, but the
Sometimes that
primary
doesn't
kills
matter.
me.
You
And
know.
yeah, sometimes that doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
depends. I mean,
Yeah.
haywires are swinging in the first place,
They
so
are. I was actually
yeah.
playing um, until the Dark Eldar Codex came out. I was playing Dark Eldar with some competitive Harlequins thrown in. That
Oh
way I could
yes.
still play, right?
You gotta have them. You gotta have
You
the
got
jet
it.
bikes.
Is there any part of your play style that you
Oh,
would feel like you need to improve
it's
on?
it's funny that Jeremy asks this because one part of my play style that I had. So I mentioned earlier that the past 10 games I've played, I've lost one because I went 4-1 at the Tables and Towers, and I
Yep.
went 5-0 here. So at the last one, the first match was against Jeremy, and I threw my knights at his dark angels, and it was turn two that all of my big knights were dead. It was like he was like, "That's a mistake." I was like, "We'll see." And then we saw that yes, indeed, it was a major mistake. And he turned to clobber me with all of his Deathwing Knights, and it was really sad. Um, After that, after talking to him, it's like now I'm like, oh, that was the first time playing them post Codex.
Right.
I played them with the Index and stuff, and I did decently well. I've beaten them before that, before they got their Codex, but I learned a lot there, and I changed my playstyle immediately for the rest of the games. Where I was like, I don't know why I'm throwing it there. One of our guys, so JD, he's probably watching too. Told me, he's like, why do you throw your knights up there? I was like, because I got to run up, shoot, kick, fall back, do it
You
again, and that is rinse
participate as
repeat. That
much
is
as you can.
Yeah, that is knights. I have to
Yep.
get maximum value of all the attacks.
So
But it changed my playstyle to staying back at least for a turn.
yeah.
I don't want you to assault me, and I'll shoot you. And then once you move closer to me, especially if you're an assault army,
Hmm.
I'll possibly make a move. But against Dark Angels and other ones, I usually just kind of, all right, I'll kite you around and get my engage points, and we'll just shoot you from there.
So Dan down there with Coastal Wargaming
Oh yeah.
said that you came up here and took revenge for me going down there and winning you guys' GT.
Yeah, you did bring that up earlier. See, I
Yeah, I
told you
did.
someone was going to get salty about it.
Yep. Um, I'm still waiting for that second inaugural GT.
Oh, soon. There's
Um,
rumblings about it.
alright. I'm looking
GT
forward to it.
happening sometime in the future.
So, Andrew Simmons um, was wondering, what do you want to see in the Knight Codex, and how should Knight OBSEC work?
Oh man. So Night Code, I feel like Knights is tough because there's probably a really fine line between, hey, we helped them out to, hey, now
Yeah,
we're back to. So I joined right after it, but after the Castellan like
yeah,
overlords and in eighth edition.
yeah.
Um,
The GT, the
so
the Nova Open where the Castellan was on every table. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember that
exactly.
one.
So yeah, I joined after that and I heard about it and stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, that army sounds like it sucks. I'll never play that." And here I am now. So, um, but a few things. So, at least a warlord trait that's universal, that is obsec. And if there were obsec, I know someone mentioned at the tournament, they're like obsec where your wound count is the amount. I was like 24 wounds, 24 models on a objective. That's a lot. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I could see half. I was like,
yeah,
I could see half the models, half your wounds. So it's like 12 models,
yeah.
and then goes down, you round up whatever, for
Um,
OBSEC. But I'm not sure if it should be universal either. Maybe just the big knights,
yeah, I
not
was
the
at
armigers.
so when Andrew Simmons posted that question, I was actually thinking, for a second, I took a second to think how it would work, and I was actually like, well, what if you only gave the baby knights OBSEC? right?
Oh, that's true.
They're a little easier to kill, but yeah,
Yeah, I,
I don't know.
I think the bigger knights, maybe. I don't know. That right now, so on the Imperialis side, which is the side that I don't take because they don't have Crast. They don't regen one wound. They don't have. I don't think the. No, I think top bracket works for both sides. I can't remember, but I think the best households are on the Mechanicus side. So that's one I always take. But they have a warlord trait that is you count as 10 wounds while you're on an objective, or
Mm-hmm.
count as 10 models while you're on an
Yeah, you
objective, and
count
you
as
have
10.
so there is that. I think they should make that universal, a warlord trait that anyone can take.
Right.
And then a few things. So the Book of Rust, I know, brought up a good stratagem too in the enemy's movement phase, where it essentially makes the engagement range of a knight 3 inches. So I could, you could be on an objective,
Mm-hmm.
and then I could say, okay, I'm going to use the CP. If you come, you can't end up within 3 inches of me. So you have to either go far
Right.
around me, or you can't land on the objective. So it keeps you off of it unless you want to charge me, which I
No,
want you to.
I'm being honest with you. I'm staying outside 3 inches of you in my turn at all
Regardless,
times, right?
yeah,
Because all your knights are characters, so you'll just heroic into me and then stomp on my boys,
for sure, for
which is
sure.
painful to
Yeah.
watch my models die.
Yeah, and then if there were a warlord trait or a relic that did so for just one night, where it was -1 damage, like a dreadnought or something, I, I,
Mhm.
I could see that, like, that would have some play. I would immediately put that on one of my
Right.
models. Just this one takes one less damage, whatever, like a dreadnought, just to have a little bit more survivability.
Yeah.
I bet people would be, all for not doing that, but with the rise in D3+3 weapons and a lot of Melta style
Yep.
weapons,
So
Sisters of Battle still being everywhere, or not everywhere, but still
they're
being
still very
just
playable.
Melta friendly. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that I like most about Ninth right now is that, from what I've seen at least, every codex they've touched so far is playable. I don't
Hmm.
know as though any codexes have come out yet, and you go, do you know what? Like, I'd like to play them competitively, but I just don't see a way to do it.
Yeah.
I think they've all been playable, but
Yeah.
I know what you mean by that line, right? So the line of OP versus
I'd say
good,
it's even harder with knights with
yeah,
potentially 5 to 7 models on your army. It's like,
yeah,
how do you make them not so OP? But
right. Still,
yeah.
you can win a game.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So James, what traits would you like from knights so that you are not just playing OG Crast? Oh, what traits would you like that would pull you away from Crast?
Oh, a Crast right now. So Crast is tough. Rerolling all the hits for every time you charge get charged in close combat, because knights are just beasts in close combat. I think Tyrannus having the 6-up feel no pain is it's decent too. If 5-up feel no pain, I feel like is way too much, and I feel like 6-up feel no pain is not enough. But
Right.
there's no in between,
No,
right?
there
So I'm
isn't.
like,
We'd
yeah. So I'm like,
have to take the
I
game
don't
to a
like
D8.
Tyrannus. Yeah, if I would say there. So like Terran is kind of neat with they get wherever they need to. I think they have +1 or +2 to their advance and charges and stuff like that too. Or no, they roll extra d6 for their advances and
Right.
charges.
So kind of like
So in
Kraken, right?
addition, yeah. So in addition to Landstrider, you give someone Landstrider, and people can advance 2d6, and their
Right.
charges are 3d6 +2. Pick the two highest. So the Mechanicus side just has better. So Mechanicus has let's say if someone has a mortal wound spam, Mechanicus side only has the 5-up feel no pain for one
Right.
CP in that phase. So you say, well, I'm going to spend this one CP and 5-up feel no pain. So if you're going to use a Magnus list and throw as many mortals as you can, or if you're going to do the Haywire
Yeah.
bikes, I have to use it.
Yep.
You're probably not going to get that many wounds with the regular shots, but mortals will be crazy.
No, so
Uh,
that's so I get the same feeling when I'm looking at witch cults. Not saying that the other ones aren't playable, but they put
yeah,
so many things in the Cult of Strife that you're like, if I take any other one, I'm almost penalizing myself.
yeah. And
Um,
that's how it is with Crast right now. Like
yeah,
Crast, like their stratagem, controlled aggression, exploding sixes in close combat. And against chaos, it's exploding sixes with 2 extra hits. So against Death Guard, it was like, all right, you charge me, cool, I'm gonna do this. Every six is 3 hits, you
Yeah.
know. So it's just that's a lot to give up.
So,
I'm trying to think if any even get close. There's one other thing too. One other that has the essentially you're transhumaned.
right,
It's a warlord trait, I think, for House of Volker, which is one I'm like, I like the warlord trait, but the rest of it I'm not a huge fan of.
right.
But if I saw that warlord trait universal where you could pick it for one night, I would pick that too.
So, and then, so the second half of James's question
Okay.
was, would you like to see essentially them add any units like his specific
Admechs,
example
baby
was like
units.
peasants from Bretonia, I guess. But I guess you can already do that with kind of like guard, right?
Some sort of, well, where you wouldn't have to soup. You could
Right,
take pure knights, but you have some sort of troops.
right.
You know, I don't know. I personally, I'm like, nah. You know what?
Yeah.
Give me an obsec,
Just give me a whole bunch of
trait
beep
or
boops and
household. Yeah, I'll make robot noises at you all day. No,
um
so
I mean, I
I
guess
don't
they could
know.
also do like the GSC rule, right? Where if you're playing GSC, you can take Tyranids without breaking anything. If you're playing GSC,
Yeah,
you can take some guard without breaking anything. And I
yeah, it's like taking an assassin too, if you will. You
right.
know, it doesn't break the rules, and maybe it's just me, and I don't know if it's just because I'm like I want it's one of the guys in CWG mentions he's like he just likes playing the hard mode. It's like it is kind of hard mode. It's tough. It is literally
Yeah.
it's legitimately hard to win with 7 models.
Right.
Granted, with all the strong shots, all the strong melee, knights are still beatable,
Yeah.
um, for sure. But at the same in the same breath, I can say I play against people like Rob Triplet in my fourth game. I felt bad
That's a
because
tough game.
for him, oh man, it was so bad. There
Yeah.
was a few plays in there I was like I was rolling so hot, he was rolling so crappy,
Mm.
and his guys were just dying. I was like, I don't think he killed a single model, and sometimes the
Yeah.
games just go like that.
Yeah.
But there's very few armies that are like that, where like I killed nothing. Like I shot at things, nothing, zero things died.
Yep.
Usually when you have more models, right, you're killing something. I killed some poxwalkers,
That
sure. I killed I
that
killed something at
that's
least.
how my game against Birdsong went.
Oh yeah, you didn't
Turn
kill some
one,
boys.
I dealt 0 wounds. It's
How
not that.
how was that, by the way? Can we talk about that? Because I didn't play against him, and I was
Yeah.
I was actually kind of like, oh crap, I don't know if I'm gonna have to play against this dude.
Yeah, we can talk about that real quick because it was actually a pretty interesting game. So, I was playing pure Dark Eldar, which has been my main faction for several years, and with the new codex, I was really excited to bring them. I ended up going. I started out 3-0, and then ended up against Anthony Birdsong. Birdsong was bringing 90 boys and a 850 point custom Stompa, and I took Herd the Prey, Thin the Ranks, and Deploy Scramblers. He took Deploy Scramblers, Domination, and Grind them down. So, turn one, he gets turn one. He shoots half of my transports off the table and ends his turn. My turn one, I move like I'm not even sure I moved. I shot all my transports at his knights, and then I ended my turn. His turn two, he shot at my transports, killed all but one, and ended his turn. My turn two, so like he just kept his boys on in his deployment zone in his backfield the entire game.
I actually did notice that too,
Yeah.
and that game went on. Because I was in the table right next
Yeah.
to you for that game four, and we were like, man, we don't know where this game is going. It
Yeah.
just seemed like it went on
So
for a while.
it was super low scoring because both of us were like, oh, the other one will be aggressive. Throughout the entire game, we were like, oh, the other one will be aggressive, right? He's gonna
Yeah,
bring his boys to me, and I'll come out and kill him. And then he was like, he's gonna bring his Dark Eldar to me, and then my boys will go kill him. So it was just this like stall game essentially for 3 hours, and
yeah.
then
That
um, he ended up running him at the end. And I figured out a mistake I did, looking back over that game.
of
Um,
course,
right. So
2020 hindsight.
neither of us deployed scramblers, and
Nice.
like I said, there was just it was super low scoring. So, but I had mandrakes, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't like I should have held them until turn 5, hoping that there was an opening in his backfield, right?
Hmm.
And
I don't
I
know. It
ended
looked
up
like his backfield was pretty stuffed with
oh it,
boys.
it was stuffed, but at his last turn he came up to get domination.
Ah,
So I was like, had I been thinking that all the way through, I would have held him off, right?
yeah.
Um,
That's
so
that battle fatigue getting to you.
yeah. So Dan wants to know what you least hope to face last weekend.
Or at least, so part of me was like Drukari. So Drukari, I haven't got a practice game against them at all. Um, and I need to get some in
Yeah.
before for MDO because that's
There's gonna
coming
be a
up in a
couple of
couple
them there.
weeks. Oh, just a couple. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's going to
just
be a fourth of the field.
yeah, probably.
Uh, so out of I matched really well because all of the I've played against the new rules against all of the um, factions that I win against. Um, I think the big ones: Harlequins, Drukari, Orcs. It's Orcs. I probably would have a little better chance with. Um, but anything that has a lot of horde that
Yeah.
can bring back units would be tough for me, or a lot of things that get around the board really
Yeah.
fast.
So
Um,
I used to dream of playing against a list like yours, right? I had 2 units
yeah.
of haywire bikes. I had
Hmm.
disintegrator cannons, which admittedly wound on 5s, but they
Oh
tink.
yeah.
I mean, they tink them away pretty quick. Um,
Yeah.
but now looking at my list now, I'm like, man, I hope I don't draw knights.
Yeah, I mean, it's like which raiders are your incubi are they
Mhm.
sitting in? I would target those first,
I
and the other ones I'm not too concerned about,
yeah
but I would try to kill them all immediately the
yeah.
first turn.
So actually, in the Birdsong game, I didn't put anything in a transport.
Oh, really?
Not a single model started in a transport
Why not?
because of exactly what you said. I was like, so if I get first turn, I just put my transports close enough so that my models can hop in the transport and zoom off,
Mm.
right? But if I get second turn and he walks his knight up and just blasts away these
He could blast away a few raiders in one turn
he
with the
can.
amount of guns that thing
Yeah.
has.
Uh, so if he can blast away a couple of these, I'm gonna be losing models. I'm gonna be
Yep.
losing additional points of models that I don't need to lose because I have these nice, not quite magic boxes, but very strong line of sight blocking
Yeah.
ruins to chill out in. So I actually did that in my 5th game too. I
Who'd you
did.
play in your fifth
I
game?
played Josh Scheiben in my
Oh,
5th game.
nice.
Yeah, he was playing that AdMech army with he has the bomber and
The
a whole bunch of.
Castellan. Was that a Castellan?
Yeah, he had a Castellan, which I
Nice.
just ignored for the entire game.
Sometimes
Um,
you gotta do that. If
yeah,
you use line of sight and obscuring, you can do
yep.
it.
So that's exactly what. But I did the same thing as I did, kinda, against Birdsong, where I was like, look, I'm gonna take Herd the Prey. I'm gonna wait for you to get into a manageable advance and charge range, and then I'll start carving through you. Um,
Yeah. What was the end score for that game too? Because I remember it being low and close.
it was 1 point. It was like 64-65 or 63-64,
Yeah.
something like that. It came. I mean, it was the wire.
Yeah.
So Bobby Soto is wondering what command phase elements you think they should add for knights.
Command phase.
Hmm.
Oh man. Um, command phase
Like, what
elements.
if you had a warlord trait that in your command phase you got 2 CP instead of 1?
So I think there is. I don't know. I actually don't know if they have a CP generation. I know they have one where it's like you get a CP if you take the
Right.
warlord trait, but they don't have a CP generation
No.
anything unless you take soup and you bring like the old CP battery before, like right before I jumped in. It was
Yeah.
like the Imperial Guard CP battery for the Castellan,
Yeah.
but
Which everybody took.
Knights don't have that on their own. They probably should have that. That's usually like I think every army should have some sort of rule that says, "Hey, you roll a
To
5+,
try.
you get a CP back."
Yeah.
Yeah, something that does something of that sort. That would be something that I think would be good. One thing, I made the joke against Rob Triplet on Space Wolves. The game wasn't going his way in the first place, and he
Yeah.
brings in his Eradicator squad, and I was like, all right, well I'm gonna auspex scan them right when he brought him in, and he was like, his face was like, he was like, what? And I was like, no, I don't have a strat like that, but like auto targeting matrix,
Yeah.
it's essentially like forewarn or auspex scan. Like if we something like that for knights would be
Yeah.
huge because there's a lot of times where you try to jump up on a knight, but if they got a chance to shoot you,
Yeah.
it'd be scary. But that's
I
pretty
think
powerful.
instead of being a strat, that would probably be like a thing you pay for,
Yeah,
right? That
maybe. But
like
even that might be
10,
too
15
too
points.
overpowered.
Well, I mean, at least you would know about it before,
Yeah.
right? Nobody, you couldn't be surprised by it.
Yeah, you don't want to be within 12 inches or
Right.
whatever the range is
Right.
that it would be.
Or even just if they had the you can't deep strike within 12.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that would be interesting
as a
too, where it's
warlord
just like,
trait or a relic or something like that.
mhm.
That way, it's only one
Yeah,
guy on the table, but
yeah. But for the command phase, so I mean, I'm trying to think for the command phase, something that would be good, where essentially maybe giving a knight, when I say cover save, like digging, how broadsides can dig into
right.
ground or something, where it's like they get a better, I think, better shot, or
I
at
know a
least
lot
from
of
back in the
armies.
day.
So a lot of armies heal in the command phase. So like they can heal D3 or something
the
like that.
the the knights actually do on the Mechanicus side. Hence,
Right.
Mechanicus being the
Right.
superior side, they all heal one damage per turn.
You guys heard it here.
So,
Mechanicus is superior. No point in running anything else.
yeah, I mean, even I would say even the households are better.
Yeah.
You have House Raven, you have House Crast. Wait, is Raven Mechanicus? I forget. I run Crast so much, but
Let's.
Tyrannus and Crast and Raven, I'm pretty sure all on the Mechanicus side, if I remember right.
All right. So we're coming up on an hour here.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to let people know?
No.
No?
Play what you love. I like playing knights,
Yeah.
and my CWG boys hate it, and I'm just gonna bring them always. Why not? They're fun. So I mean, I still think there's gonna be like knights are still gonna be a form of gatekeeper. No
Right.
matter where you go, even if I'm not playing them, someone's going to be playing knights.
Yeah.
And T8 armor is gonna be something that everyone has to think about
Well.
because you have that chance with pairing up with the person who has the
Yep.
knights, and you don't have your if you have your two um strength 8 weapons that do maybe even 3 or 4 damage a shot, that's great, but it's probably not enough. The
Yeah.
knights will get in position, kill those things, and then they'll just go on killing the rest of your
Well,
army.
I mean, NIDS can do it now too, right? So they have a whole bunch of
Yeah.
T8 models that they can
Yep.
bring, and they
Hmm.
can flood you with Termagants too.
Yep.
They don't need Halverns to or Warglaives to hold their objectives. They got
Yeah.
a
They
ton
have
of
we
models.
have literally 30 models, and we'll
Uh huh.
sit them on the objective. And then they'll be fearless if they're within a certain range.
So
So
I would actually be really interested to see that game you play into
I
like the two
I actually
Demolith.
played in a Tyranids. I played in Tyranids at the last tournament. That was my second game, and I won against I believe his name was Larry Oliver,
Man, you just
I
played all the
think.
Wet Wild and Warpy guys, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. So I played into him,
Yeah.
and so that one was another one. I went first, and it
Yep.
was huge because I killed a Daimo first turn, and then after that, I think one of his Daimos killed one of my knights, and then it was a low scoring, really close
Yep.
game, but I ended up edging it out against the Tyranids. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh man,
I was
that was rough.
I was actually talking to him about his list the other day, and how like we tweaked it a little bit, and I really
Yeah,
like
I
I
saw
like the
his list,
tweaks.
and I was like, I don't even know what that model is that he has in it now, and I was like, it looks scary.
uh, so all right. So what we'll do is we'll hang out for let's say 3 more minutes. If anybody has a question,
Sure.
get them in now. And then after that, we're saying goodbye. Oh, if you're here,
Sounds
don't
good.
forget to hit like and subscribe. Um, we're just starting out, so every single one helps. God, I love 40K.
Yeah, same here.
I
I
like.
know it's so I recently found I'm going to be moving sometime soon, and I was telling my wife, I was like, man, the thing that sucks the most is that my friend group,
Right.
the coastal wargaming guys, it's like this. I'm not going to miss too much about Virginia, but I was like, I
Right.
will miss CWG and the friends I've made and all the 40K buddies I've
Yeah.
made. these last couple years like the most out of everything.
No, and finding a good group is to play with and to like bounce ideas off of and stuff like that. And it's really
Yeah.
what makes the game a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, and in between the days, like the time leading up to the tournament, the time between, because I don't know what you did
Yep.
the night of that Saturday night, but we like we went to the bar, we had a great
Yep.
time. There's a ton of people there, so it was a lot of fun. There's so much more that goes into it than just 40K. It's
Yeah.
a huge social
It
gathering that
it really is.
it's a lot of fun.
And you hit up one of these tournaments and you see guys you haven't seen for like
Oh
months at this
yeah,
point, right? I mean, I think I went from November to March without a tournament.
yep,
Like just
that sounds about right.
it was just there was nothing to go to.
Yeah, for us,
And
we were doing like underground 40K. I would have like four tables at my place. I'm like, hey, we're gonna have a little underground RTT. Y'all in? Y'all, y'all kids want some candy? We got 40K.
yep.
Come on over.
So all your Coastal Wargaming guys are starting to tear up from the announcement that you're leaving them,
Oh, yeah.
because
They
I
tell
guess
you what,
some of them didn't know.
yeah, yeah. I think they already knew. They knew. Maybe I don't know. Well, if they didn't know, I'm sorry. It won't be till like October or something. I'll be around for a little bit longer.
Dan, I will fight you at any bar.
Hmm?
Oh, so Dan said last time I ran into a Jason at a tournament, was Nova and he wanted to fight me at the bar. And I was like, I will fight him at any bar.
At any bar
He
with
can,
enough liquor.
yep, he can pick the bar.
Oh, when we have our tournament down here and you come down and play in a CWG tourney,
I
you guys
got
will have your chance.
I gotta say I love the Coastal Wargaming tournament. So the tournament that they did down there, uh, it had custom missions, and for how much ITC does a really good job. They make a fun game, fun scoring, but sometimes it's just really nice to go in and go,
Yeah,
wait, what's this?
yeah. You have to like actually like wait. Now I have to
I have to
on the
re-
fly
I
think
have
of
to
a
read this.
strategy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan. I know you're talking to Dan on the chat,
Yep.
right? I don't see it, but he's been hard at work. Him and Andrew have been hard at work putting together new terrain
Yeah.
for the smaller boards,
Right.
and it's looking beautiful. So when
Awesome.
we do get to finally host a tournament, it's going to be a good tournament. So
Oh,
anyone who's watching this, come to the GT. It's going to be
definitely.
nice.
Oh,
It's going to be really good.
as long as Dan's willing to hold me a ticket, I'll be
Yeah,
there.
well, so you'll have to work that with me, man. No promises from me.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in, so I want to say thank you very much for coming out and doing
Yeah,
this
thanks for
interview
having
with
me.
me. And everybody, thank you for watching our live stream, and we'll catch you in the next tournament. I'm gonna try to do more of these with more tournament winners. So
Sounds
hopefully
good.
I see you back here soon.
See you at MDO.
See you at MDO.
I'll talk to you later.
Yep.